Peace, love, light, and power. Welcome to Lofty Convos, where wisdom grounds and grace lifts. We are so excited to have you join the live tonight. We will be with you momentarily. Stay tuned and stay lofty. Peace, love, light, and power. Welcome to Lofty Convos, where wisdom grounds and grace lifts. We are so excited to have you join the live tonight. We will be with you momentarily. Stay tuned and stay lofty. All right. Peace, love, light, and power. I hope you have made the day ridiculously amazing and not allowed the day to make you. We're going to be getting started in just a few moments at 5 after. So 2 more moments, 2 more minutes. We are going to get started. I am super, super excited to be live tonight. It has been a challenging few weeks here lately. So thank you all for patiently waiting and joining the live tonight. Do me a favor while we are waiting, please click the like button, share button, and jump over to YouTube. And please go ahead and subscribe at Lofty Convos. That's LOFTYCONVOS. Once we get to 50 subscribers, then I can go live on YouTube as well. So go ahead and do me a favor, like, share, and jump on over to YouTube and subscribe for me there. You can also jump over to Truth Be Told, my sister's channel, Wanda Pinkney, and you can like, subscribe, and share there as well. So another minute and we're going to get started. So grab you something to drink, maybe pen and paper, or if you're like me, I'm a techie. I like to use technology to take notes. Grab your phone, iPad, tablet, whatever you like to use, so that we can get lofty tonight. It's going to be an amazing ride. So another minute. All right, it's that time. Clock on the wall says let's get started. So again, welcome to Lofty Convos, where wisdom grounds and grace lifts. We are unfiltered, unshaken, and unapologetically divine. Again, peace, love, light, and power to you. I hope your day has been made well, and you have not allowed the day to make you. I want to show gratitude to those that are watching the live. And if you will be watching the replay, I say thank you as well. And if you will just hashtag Lofty Convos replay when you do watch the replay, I would greatly appreciate that. Again, share, like, and subscribe on my YouTube channel so that we can reach that 50 mark, so that we'll be able to go live on that platform as well. I always like to give special thanks to my family, friends, and supporters. You all are absolutely amazing, and I'm so eternally grateful for that. I have with me on tonight one of my closest friends and brothers, Dr. Daniel Bynes. And although he's not officially a doctor yet, he is in the process of obtaining his doctorate. Brother, please forgive me. My phone is over behind me charging. I did have your bio all prepped and ready to go. I'm actually going to allow you to introduce yourself a little bit more in detail. because it is too far away from me to reach at the moment. So I want to say welcome to Dr. Daniel Bynes, who has been a light in my life personally. I will tell you this much. We met some years ago, almost 10 years ago, as a matter of fact, when we were in network together as Christian leaders. And I had the pleasure of meeting him and getting to know him and his lovely wife, who is also Dr. April Bynes, my sister. Love you so much. And we connected on our own as we were going through our own individual evolution. And as we started in interacting and having conversations, we realized that we were actually going through similar evolutions at the time. And so we have remained together, remained connected, and remained a support over the years. And there is nothing that would ever change that. He's my brother. He's my friend. And I'd like for you to join me tonight as you welcome Dr. Daniel Bynes. And I'm going to allow him to give his background, his credentials, and say hello to you. Dr. Bynes, welcome, welcome, welcome. Please go ahead and greet the people and tell us a little bit more about who you are on tonight. Honored to have you here.
Awesome, sis. Thank you so much. It's an honor and a pleasure to be with you. And I'm not going to say much. You know, I'm not big on introductions, but I am my government name is David Bynes. I am a certified John Maxwell coach. I am also I've been working in higher education as a college administrator for about the last 22 years, I'll say. And currently I direct an office at Florida International University, which is my daytime job. But spiritual, as you said, I've been on the journey. So I still honor the title, if you will, of apostle.
Yes.
These days, most people that I'm meeting now, I go by mystic. And so, but, you know, I tie everything together. And so for me, everything flows together. And so tonight will be a combination of my coaching practice, my educational endeavors as I journey toward the pursuit of a PhD in teaching and learning with a concentration in curriculum and social studies. And I'll leave that there. So just looking forward to a great conversation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't be more excited and more honored to have you on with us tonight. I also want to give a huge, huge, huge shout out to my baby sister, Wanda. She is brilliant. Okay. She is such a techie. I thought I was the techie in the family, but she's actually the techie. I'm realizing we both have our flavor when it comes to technology, but I want to shout out a great appreciation to her for getting all of this aligned for me. She's my sound engineer tonight. She's working the background, and I am absolutely excited to have her be with me in that respect. She's planning to come on later, I hope still, to join the conversation. But for now, she is working the background as we navigate through Lofty Convos. So let's get started. Hello, nephew Brandon. It is so great to have you on. I also want to appreciate Truth Be Told, which is her channel under DeWanda Pinckney. Listen, if you want raw truth, there it is. All I can tell you is to buckle up, Buttercup, and strap in, because she will take you on an absolute ride. So if you want to jump over to her channel and subscribe as well. Again, I hope you're liking, subscribing, and sharing. We're going to get started tonight. So I want to start with this. So my brother and I were on the phone after my last live, and we, were sharing and talking as we always do. And I was actually conflicted on what to do next. And so in conversation with him, we actually combined schools of thought. And as a result of that, we came up with this amazing formula, if you will: alignment plus emotional intelligence equals freedom. So that's what we're going to deep dive into on tonight. He's going to jump in whenever he wants to, and he's going to share with us. And we're just going to have an amazing conversation tonight. It's storming where I am. The internet has been out and on, off and on all day long, all week long, but especially today. And so we were laughing just a little bit ago saying, this is going to be an amazing live, because when I tell you the struggles the challenges that I have had to get to tonight, you wouldn't believe. So we are absolutely grateful to have each of you with us. So I want to start with talking about alignment, right? Most people aren't out of alignment because they're lost. They're out of alignment because they keep betraying the truth that they already know. So alignment is about your internal configuration. And most people aren't emotionally immature because they don't feel deeply. They're emotionally immature because they've never learned how to feel without unraveling. I used to be one of those persons. I could feel, and I would feel anything and everything all the time, but I did not know how to harness my emotions. I did not know how to manage them. I did not know how to keep them in balance, right? I constantly was in a place of unraveling when it came to my emotions. So tonight, we're not just talking, we're remembering. We're remembering who we are and where we come from. Because when you are aligned and emotionally intelligent, you are no longer a prisoner to people, pain, or performance, right? We talked about that on the last live, about those levels of performance and pain, being a prisoner to people, constantly being subjected to the opinions of others, and feeling like that is the only way we have to live, is to be in alignment with others, right? So tonight we want to talk from a place of freedom, freedom to choose your values, freedom to feel without apologizing, and freedom to stop explaining your evolution. As Dr. Bynes and I just reiterate, we're talking about our own evolution. And one thing we did not do that I'm so grateful for, brother, is we never felt the need to explain our evolution. It was ours individually, alone, to share, to walk through, to live through, to experience. And we really did not care what people thought of our evolution. Now that we still live in today, right? We do not care what people think about our evolution. It is our path. It's our journey. It's your experience. You are not required to explain away yourself or even get people to buy into or accept your path or your evolution. It is yours and yours alone. So this is our formula tonight. Alignment plus emotional intelligence equals freedom. Brother, what would you say to the introduction tonight?
Man, you covered it, and so but I love the piece, and let me say, and you know, a lot of my comments will come from an ancestral place, right? So I believe that when we talk about alignment, and you hit it, you said the word remembering, right?
Yes.
Oftentimes we're thinking that, you know, this idea of fragmentation, right? But when we think, or when we think about alignment, we're thinking about, you know, trying to align with something that's in the sky and all that. But
Yes.
Tonight, I would have folks to understand that real alignment is a place of memory. It's a place of remembering and doing that, right? Do again, member, right? So you're realigning the members of your body. What is that?
Yes.
That's your thoughts, your actions, your values, your purpose, your inner truth. You are, in addition to remembering, I would also say that it is a place of refusal. Right. And so when you think about alignment, it's refusing to shrink. And so as
Yes.
you talk about, sis, about feeling like we have to explain ourselves, right? I don't have to explain myself to anybody, right? Once I understand that I'm in proper alignment and I am navigating this space the exact way that I'm supposed to be navigating, there is nothing to explain, because those who need to know, they will see it and they will connect to it. And so, you know, so this is not about a distortion or correcting anything that's wrong with you. It's simply about remembering who you have always been.
Listen, can't nobody say it like Bynes. Absolutely. So I want to say hello to everyone that is joining. I do see several people on. Thank you so much for being here with us. Kimberly, my sweetheart, my godson, Tremel, I see you. The Oracle himself, Ronique Benjamin, what an incredible human being, friend and brother as well. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. Brandon Wilson, nephew, I'm so honored to have you here. And I know there are so many more of you that are watching. Those are just some of the comments that I see. And we'll definitely play. Yes, thank you, Sissy.
Okay.
Thank you all for, yes, brother, we're doing some new things tonight.
I see it. I see it. I see it. All
Yes.
right.
Yes, I am so excited. Thank you for that, Wanda. So I want to jump into alignment right where you just left off, right?
Right.
And I want us to tag this as the phrase. You can put it in the chat, those of you that are watching. Alignment simply is this: I know who I am and where I'm going. Now we're going to unpack it, but in its simplest terms, I know who I am and where I'm going. So alignment is sacred self-honesty. It's the root and everything else is the fruit. Alignment is the sacred agreement between your soul, your choices, and life direction. It's not perfection, it's congruence, right? Wanda and I were talking earlier about this whole ideology of perfection and how that actually has crippled us. And we're talking about ourselves personally and how it has crippled us and made certain decisions and path decisions for us. And so once we begin to heal that ideology and become congruent to our path and our choices, it absolutely opened up a completely different world for me. It opened me up to me and allowed me to remember, right? To recall who I am, to restore my soul back to that place of remembering. And so your values match your voice is when you come into alignment. Your inner world matches your outer choices. And let me tell you how powerful that reality is when your inner world matches your outer choices. Now, a lot of us, we live opposite of congruence. We are actually out of alignment with ourselves. We say one thing and we do another, right? We talk about that all the time. As my mother would say, you talk east and walk west. So it's all of those things that allow us to be completely mismatched, if you will. I love the part where the values matches the voice. And I am loving the life that I am living today more than I ever have before, because I understand the power and the principle of alignment. And I want to say this: when you're aligned, you stop chasing what's not yours. When you're aligned, you don't shrink or stretch for approval. When you're aligned, you move from truth, not trauma. When you are aligned, life gets quieter but clearer, right? And you stop seeking validation because you're now guided by values. You become magnetic to the people, the opportunities, and the love that reflects your truth.
Wow.
Right? I want to pause. Go right ahead, brother. Jump in.
No, I was saying you said some stuff. It's this idea of alignment, right? And so you start off talking about our evolution. And then you said something that's critical. You said, I am living, right, the best way I know how. And you said something to the effect that I'm feeling the best I've felt right ever. And so what I found, Sister Grace, was as I was trying to chase what I thought was this idea of alignment, I came to recognize that it was a false thing. Right. And so oftentimes we're chasing something because we're chasing it from the outside in.
That's it.
But when I begin to live my inner truth and I begin to not care what that or how that inner truth came off to anybody else, it was then I really began to start living. And so I want to say to somebody tonight that this idea of really living, right, has to come from within. You have had to have turned on the inside or made an inward turn. And now you come to this place of congruence about with your thoughts and your actions, but it's your most authentic self. And what I found was that even when I was quote unquote in church and doing and chasing all those things, that I was only doing it from a place because I thought that's what I was supposed to be
Right.
doing, right? But it wasn't my authentic
Mm.
self. And so it was in that place that once I came to the realization, this is not me, right? Because I'm trying to do it because I'm trying, quote unquote, not to sin,
That part.
right? But once I stopped focusing on, as the scripture would say, that I was born into
Right.
this life of
Right.
sin, right? Once I came to that understanding that wasn't true about me, right? And once I understood that who I am in my most authentic self, my higher self, the best version of myself, it's in that place now that I really began to live my most authentic life.
That.
And began to live my most authentic life, that's when I realized I was in alignment.
Yes.
When I'm struggling to live right my authentic life and I'm struggling because I'm worried about outside validation, that's when I know that I'm out of alignment. I'm no longer
Yes.
incongruent. And I often tell people today when people say, well, if God is willing, I say, God is
If
willing if
you
you
are.
are. If you are, right? And so we have to understand that this idea of alignment comes from us. It comes from within. It comes from the God self, if
Yes.
you will, that is
Yes.
within, right? And that's how we know that when we begin to speak those things and we begin to move according to what our actual authentic thoughts and principles and values are according to our life, that's when we know we're moving in alignment.
Absolutely. Well said. And then what happens in those moments that I absolutely love, and that's a perfect segue to what I want to talk about next, is then we draw magnetism, right? We become the vibrational
Mm.
match to those people, opportunities, and the love that reflects our core values. And so I want to talk about this part for just a moment. Alignment isn't passive, right? It's magnetic. When you are truly
Right.
aligned, you attract what honors your becoming and you retract what only is recognized by your brokenness. Whew.
Mhm.
So a lot of times we wonder why is this happening to this? Why is this happening to me? Why is this person constantly treating me this way? It is because they are no longer a vibrational match to who you are. And so there is a retraction that comes from being aligned, right? So when you
Right.
are aligned, you begin to attract people who respect your boundaries, not resent them, right? You begin to attract opportunities that match your values, not just your skill set. Oh boy, whew, I
Mm.
can talk about that for days on end right there. You also begin to attract love that's rooted in recognition and not performance, just what you were just talking about. You also begin to attract rooms that witness you, not just tolerate you. Alignment doesn't require hustle, it requires honesty. And when we're unwilling to be honest about who we are, right? About where we are, about what our life now is, the path that we're now on, the journey that we're experiencing, the evolution of our life, then and only then in that honesty can be we begin to attract those people, places, experiences that fit my new alignment. And like I said, when I'm out
Yes.
of alignment, I can tell because all of the things
Right.
that I should be attracting, I am now attracting again because I am no
Right.
longer congruent.
Right. Absolutely. And that piece, again, about congruence, it's critical, and that's the word, right? You've got to figure it out. And so, and I want somebody to
Yes,
hear this: you can't hustle
you
and
can.
attract, right? And so I know that in today's culture, that's what it's
Yes,
about, right? Everybody's on the grind, everybody's hustling, everybody's trying to get the bag. Well, here it is: you cannot hustle and attract at the same time. The reason why people hustle or have to hustle or feel like they have to hustle is because they're not living a vibration, a
yes,
vibrational life, right? They have not come into a place where they are a vibrational match. And so, when people often talk about the idea, well, how am I supposed to attract, right? Or why is it not working for me? Well, it's not working for you because you're not doing the work, right? And so the work is that's where we come into vibrational match, right? That's the work is coming into congruence. Once you come into congruence, now you begin to become a vibrational match to all those things. So again, where even the scriptures talk about, and I want to tell somebody, right? Don't throw out the scriptures yet, right? Because you can use them. And so when the scriptures say, pray as if you have, as you already have it, right? You already have it. It's been released, right? The other scripture that says, as soon as you ask for it, it was released, right? And I paraphrase there. But I need somebody to understand that piece, right? That it was released. Now the challenge is you must now become a vibrational match to what you have asked for, because everything is a vibration. Everything has a frequency. The problem is most people don't become a vibrational match or don't line up to the vibration of what they've asked for.
Absolutely.
And so they spend, some people spend an entire life, right, chasing after something that if they would have just paused for a minute and understood how to do the work of becoming a vibrational match, then it would have had to have come to you, because again, magnetism. You are already a magnet. It is already coming to you. It is just now you coming into alignment.
Absolutely.
With it.
And when you think about that magnetism, that magnetic frequency, where it draws you into, when it's a match, you find it being drawn to you. You don't have to chase it, right? There's no hustle in it because I'm aligned. I am a vibrational match. It actually is drawn to me. But when you're not in alignment, then it actually retracts, right? The opposite of attract, it retracts. It literally is being pulled away from you. It can't move and come near you. It can't come to you because it doesn't recognize you. Because you're no longer congruent. You're no longer magnet. You're no longer in alignment. So it no longer even sees you to be able to come to you. Wow.
Say that again. It can't see you because you're in alignment, right? And that's that piece.
It's a mirroring,
right? And so everything that we're supposed to have, we have. And when we're supposed to get more, we will get more. But the only way we get more is to become a vibrational match to that, which is more. So, as you talked about again earlier, when it was time for us to move into another space of evolution, if you will, we had to go. It was not about being apostate. It was not, we were moving into apostasy. It was that we were listening to our intuition, and now the God beingness of us was saying there is more. And so it literally, we didn't chase it. It chased us. And it called us.
Exactly. It did. Absolutely. I remember when we were in ministry, this was many, many years ago, even before I met you. And we would say things like, the blessings of the Lord will hunt you down and take you over. There's no hustle in that whatsoever. I want to go to the comments because it's really, really good. Our brother is on, so he's lighting up the comments tonight. The Oracle, Ronique Benjamin, he says, your limiting program beliefs block the vibration. Absolutely. And we're going to talk about that in another session in the future about limiting programmed beliefs. So, Ronique, please be ready because we're going to call on you and we're going to all do this together. So I want to say this: alignment is the altar where your soul meets strategy. Right. So we know there was a calling, but we know there was a calling for us to exit, for us to move. Right. And then within that confined, we had to have strategy. So it wasn't just we just all willy-nilly just got up and moved. We put strategy, we put work into our movement. And so I want to say this to those that are watching. I want you to ask yourself, where am I still betraying my truth to stay accepted?
That's good.
Where am I still betraying my truth to stay accepted? Because if you cannot identify that, then you will stay in rooms and circumstances and situations and situationships and relationships and everything else way past the time that you need to be there, simply because you still need acceptance.
Yes.
So here's what I want to invite you to do, because we're going to have call to action all throughout. One thing my brothers taught me, you know, it's great to have conversation and all of these things, but we need call to action. We got to put work in after we hear the word of the Lord, or we hear the word of God, or we hear truth, whatever it is, however you want to categorize it, there must be work. So I want you to commit to one action this week that brings your life into deeper alignment.
Yeah. Can I drop that in the chat? Let's go ahead and put them on, because I think that's the response, absolutely. Right? So what is it? Everybody can't be on. We get that, but drop it in the chat. What is it that you're willing to commit to?
Yes. Follow through. Absolutely. What are you willing to commit to? You know, people get really, really shy when you have these conversations, but this again, we are unfiltered. We are completely unapologetically divine, right? We are unshaken. This is not to shame anyone. This is not to throw anyone under the bus or anything like that. Listen, we are getting free together. This is in real time. This is real life. We all are going to be sharing our own experiences, and we want you to be able to do the same. This is safe space. It's sacred space. Right. So we want to help you to identify these things so that you can get your life into deeper alignment. Because as my brother just said, it's on you. If you're waiting for God, okay, let's just pause right here for a quick moment. If you're waiting for God to do the work, then I'm going to tell you that the work has already been done by God. Right? And it's not the God that's in the sky. It's not the God that exists outside of you. It's the God that is you within. And so there's an element and an expression of God that we are, and you now have to do the work in real time in your life. So commit to one action this week that brings your life into deeper alignment, and then absolutely identify, where are you betraying truth to stay accepted?
And sis, I love that question, right? I love it. And I love this piece because, you know, we're entering in a dialogue. Dialogue helps you become whole. Let me say it again, right? Dialogue helps you to become whole. And dialogue is a safe place to be, because nobody is trying to tell you how to be. We're simply having dialogue, and now you find your place within the dialogue. And that's when you find yourself coming into alignment. That's when, and then the questions, the inquiry. We're challenging with questions, because when you begin to inquire of yourself, it's there. You begin to ask questions like, where am I out of alignment in my life? And now it's you and you. It ain't nobody. It's you and you. And so now you've got to stand or sit in that truth about where you are out of alignment, right? And so even if you don't drop it in the chat, being that you're here and it's going into your ear gate, and it's going to get down into your spirit and into your soul, you're going to find yourself later on. You're going to hear that resignation or that echo. And you're going to hear that question come again. You're going to hear a question like, who or what am I centering when I betray my own needs? Right? Because when we're out of alignment, we betray ourselves. For the simple fact of we're trying to get validation, because again, we think our validation comes from an external place rather than internal.
Absolutely. But you know, I think a lot of it has to do with the lack of emotional intelligence, which we're going to segue here. A lot of it has to do with the emotionality, and I want to dive here. So emotionality is when your emotions become the driver. You feel it and you become it. You speak before you see, you move before you understand. It's loud, it's unfiltered, and it's often unprocessed. So it's often the place that we find ourselves, and the reason why we are out of alignment, right? We get kicked out of alignment. Something has happened in our congruence. Something has happened in our configuration that literally pulled us out of alignment and into emotionality even. So feeling deeply is not the problem, but being ruled by what you feel, that's not healing, it's habit. And so we have created these habits out of emotionality, of feeling our emotions and allowing it to drive us. And when our emotions drive us and we're not in congruence and we're not in alignment, we create havoc in our lives. And then we want to label it, the enemy is attacking me, the devil is on my back. No, you are out of alignment with yourself.
Yeah. And that happens because we often don't have that emotional intelligence or that emotional maturity. And we don't have the emotional intelligence, again, because we've not done the work, right? And the work, and I often tell people that practice is power, right? You've got to have some kind of practice. I ain't here to tell you got to pray and you got to do it, but you got to have some kind of practice, whether it's reflection, whether it is journaling, whether it is reading and then processing what you're reading, right? What I found on this journey, Grace, is that I was already an intellectual, but what I found even more is that on this journey, you got to read, right? Because you're being called to be more, and the only way to be more is to develop a consciousness in more things. And so people often talk about wanting to be a millionaire or billionaire, right? They often go to this dollars or whatever their purpose in life is, right? Well, most times we don't accomplish the purpose because we don't develop the consciousness around it. And the only way to develop consciousness, right, or awareness about something is to study it. And then once you study, you develop the habit of it. So I often tell people, well, if you really want to be a millionaire, then you got to study the lifestyles of a millionaire. Then you've got to do the work to become a vibrational match to that lifestyle, right? The problem there is that it's often found to be too hard to do that because now you got to overcome that scarcity mindset. You've got to overcome that mindset that says, I am not enough. And you got to really come, right? You really got to come into a place, not with your mouth, but with your inner alignment, right? You've got to come into a place, right? Where, and I often call this that you've got to allow your mind to grab it, right? So I talk about this concept of mind bending and mind grabbing. There are times that your mind has to be so strong that your mind bends around certain things. And then there are other times that you've got to allow your mind to grab what you see in the future and bring it into your now, because now is all we have.
That's it.
Right? We talk about the past, we talk about the future, but even the concept of Sankofa is the idea that now I allow my mind to grab what I need from my past and pull it into my future, right? The reason I love talking about Kairos time is that now when I deal with Kairos time and I talk about looking prophetically into my future, good. Now I allow my mind to grab what I see in my future and I pull it into my now. This is how we come into alignment, right? And we begin to understand that it's right here, right now, that I'm developing this consciousness to be who I've always been called to be.
Woo! That's a Selah moment right there. I want to go to the chat. It's Rodney Benjamin says it's only hard because we haven't practiced. And that is so true. When you think about professionals, when you think about people who are living and executing their craft as well as they are, it's because they have spent countless years in practice. Practice. So if you know how, I love typing, right? I used to be a really, really fast typer, 80, 90 words a minute back in the day. That came from sitting at a keyboard, practicing typing, not worrying about error, right? But getting the practice of where the keys are, how to flow with words, how to type out longer words, and having that practice and understanding how to navigate the keyboard. Then once I built speed, I then begin to build, once I build accuracy, I begin to build speed. Right? So absolutely. It's being in the practice of the craft. And I know we don't like that word, but it's real. And when you were talking, all I could think about, reading is fundamental. Reading is absolutely fundamental, but that's just the foundation. You have to comprehend what you read, and then you have to execute it. You have to put it into practice. You have to put it to work. Brandon says something very powerful. A lot of unlearning. Absolutely. That has been the practice of my life or my evolution these last few years, is unlearning and remembering.
Absolutely.
Unlearning and then remembering. And then Rodney Benjamin, go right ahead, bro.
No, finish your point.
If you don't have the capacity or consciousness of that thing, it will not recognize you. Woo. Absolutely. I like how Ronique framed this. It is exactly what you just said, bro. We must fund the mental.
That's it. And see, the thing is, a lot we don't understand words, right? We don't understand that words are also symbols, right?
Yes.
And so a lot of people oftentimes look at people like us and Ronique and how we create words, or we bend words, we create new words out of English words, because only thing people did who came up with the English language, which is well, I ain't gonna get into that.
Listen, if you was gonna step through the door, I was going with you.
Yeah, and so when you begin to understand how the English language was put together, you begin to understand some things. And so, to your last point, I want to say, even when, and as Brandon said, when you stop thinking about error, right? And you don't have to think about error. You don't have to think about, I've made a mistake and I've done this, because once you practice long enough, you develop flow. Now your flow is the solution or the fix to your malfunction. Right? So you have to get a flow first, right? And once you develop your flow, now automatically your flow will fix your malfunction.
Absolutely correct the malfunction. Using that same example about the typing, once I got in my flow, once I got in my rhythm, what I had to tell myself constantly was, don't worry about the errors. They will correct themselves in time. Just keep the flow going, because once we break the rhythm, it's hard to get back in a rhythm of alignment. Once you get out of congruence, it is hard to realign yourself. It's doable because we've all done it, but it's challenging to get yourself. It's like that rhythm of learning how to ride a bike all over again, which I personally do not know how to ride a bike. Don't judge me. I just don't. I just can't. I just cannot keep my balance on that bicycle and pick up enough rhythm to keep riding. So I just gave up many years ago. And it's just not about the era, but it is about the rhythm. It is about the flow. It is about the alignment. It is about the movement. So just tell your neighbor, keep moving, keep going, keep flowing.
And can I ask somebody, everybody, anybody, put these 3 words in the chat: rhythm, harmony, and balance. When we talk about being in alignment, that's it right there, right? Ronnie, you're spot on, right? That whole development of self-consciousness, right? When we get into being in the God zone, right, is this idea that we are now in alignment because we're living a life, right? And where we're in rhythm, we're in harmony, we're in balance. Watch this, with Mother Earth, right? And so this idea, right, of Mother Earth and being in balance. And so our lives are called to be in balance with the land. Right. And so a lot of times, so there's a concept that says, things can't grow because until we turn the sand over, and we literally now cause a new vibrational frequency to come upon the land. Right now, once the land gets back into rhythm, harmony, and balance, that's when things begin to grow. That's why we have seasons. And that's why certain things can only grow in certain seasons, because there's a rhythm and harmony and balance in the earth at that time, that if you plant something in the wrong season,
that's a good word.
If you plant something in the wrong season, it is not going to come to harvest.
And we think about how much time and energy we have expended over the years of still trying to plant. Because we figure I've cultivated the land, I'm going to turn the soil over and it has to grow. But the Bible talks about it in Ecclesiastes 3. Everything has a time and a season and a purpose. And so we have to learn how to respect the time and the season and the land, so that we don't expense unnecessary time planting, which is why people spend so much time hustling instead of harvesting.
That's it.
If we forego the hustle and learn to harvest in the proper time and season, then we will live in full alignment and abundance. We will live in rhythm, harmony, and balance, and nothing that we need will be withheld from us.
Exactly. And I'm going to say this, and you start to understand that I also now have to come into rhythm, harmony, and balance with the people that I'm called to be in alignment with. Because harvesting is not an individual practice. Let me say it again. Harvesting is not an individual. You find somebody that can harvest the land by themselves, that's a bad person. For the most part, harvesting is I would say is a team sport. So now you got to find your people. First, you got to find your purpose, then you got to find your people. And this is why we work so well together, because we understand that we're called to be each other's people.
Absolutely. And listen, there are a lot of people who come and go. So, we go back to that, they're in your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And so I'm always appreciative. And we talk about this all the time. When we look around, it's just still me and you. And it doesn't mean that we don't have other people who are part of our lives or, part of our worlds, but it becomes so much easier to manage the land, manage the harvest, right? When I have my people, because when you don't have your people, listen, you're fighting constantly. You're in constant warfare. There's contention. There's battles of how it should be done, when it should be done, why it should be done, who should do it. Whereas we look and we say, okay, that's Bynes lane, that's Grace lane, that's Ronique's lane, that's Wanda's lane, and we allow each other to be who we are.
Right.
And we support. And
Right.
we leave it at that.
Because the power in it is, right, dispense collectively, right? But then individually we get to pull from it and do what we
Right.
need to do. Well, this is the whole idea of 3 and 1, 1
Yes.
and 3, right? The whole idea there is that even though we are 3, a collective, now we're also individual. Yes. And the problem becomes is that too many of us don't know how to either A, remain an individual within the collective, or B, we try to be too much of an individual without the collective. But we've got to, again, come into balance. And understand that even though individually I have purpose, I also understand that achieving purpose has to come with my collective. And so I want to tell people that this idea of community and collective, we've got to get back to it, because we're hurting ourselves. We're hurting our own people because we're trying to chase this thing. We've fallen for this fallacy of individualism, right? And that's killing the collective. And so we've got to get back. I ain't saying that it's everybody, but you've got to figure out who your people are. And now you've got to come into community, because it's in community now where you will now begin to find that you're able to become that vibrational frequency. Why? Because you got people to bounce things off on. When I need to understand where I am, I know I can call my sis, and we can have conversations, right? And we feel it every time we're in conversation. And there's a flow and a frequency that happens that now we walk away automatically with now new, fresh ideas and understand about where we're supposed to be and what we're supposed to be doing.
And I love those moments of synchronicity with us, because both of us will be in that space of, I've got all these ideas, I have all these thoughts, and I'm not sure which way to go. I'm not sure how to move. I could go this way, I could go that way, I could do this thing, I could do it that way. And then we will have a simple conversation, and everything immediately comes in full alignment, and the direction and the way becomes absolutely clear. And there is no wondering what I need to do. There's no wondering if it's going to work. Not only do we execute it with excellence, it works. It works. Absolutely. And that is the power of, as Ronique said, partnerships that are pivotal and cosmic community. I was talking about this just a few weeks ago on one of the lives, how I returned to a specific community because I realized, and we talked about it as well, I realized the importance and the significance of community and being connected to not only people that are part of your congruence and your alignment, but also the people that you need to lead.
Yeah.
Right? Because we don't need to lead each other. Right? So there are people who are in our path and in our communities that have need of us. And we have to find those people. They are in community. Everybody that we are connected to is not going to be like us. I don't need another scholar. I don't need that, all the time in my life. There are some people that I'm just here to help you walk through your path of alignment. It speaks to my purpose. It speaks to my calling. It helps me to fulfill what Grace needs to fulfill in the earth, as opposed to, I just want to shine with you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I also believe, Grace, that not only are we there for people, but there has to be, again, incongruency. There's a mutual or reciprocation, right? So when you're in right community, there is a mutual, right, reciprocal in relationship. And so not only am I giving to you, but there's something that you need, that you got, that I need too. Right? We don't have to talk the same language. You don't have to use the same words. You don't have to be where I am, but there is something in you that I need, just like there's something in me that you need. And so when we begin to understand it, and now that's the idea, when we begin to pull on each other, right? Now we begin literally to pull out of. And so here's what happens. Now we literally start to live this idea of namaste,
Yes.
right? Namaste is the God in me honors the God in you. Guess what? When we're in real community, now we begin to live namaste because I'm pulling out. I don't just honor the God, but now I pull it out of you. Right? And so, yes, Brandon,
Yes.
the deep is now calling unto deep.
Yes.
And I hope people getting this, right? For all the language you're using, it's still scriptural. That's a whole other story. And so when we talk about this idea that deep calls on the deep, that's namaste. It's me pulling out of you, right, the God self, right, the God beingness that I need in that moment in time, and you then doing the same. So imagine if we get a community of folks, 5, 10, 15, 20, whatever, all doing that. And we're all pulling on each other. We're all pulling each other into that space of the next best version of who you are called to be in this moment in time. Not allowing you to sit right in spaces where you just want to sulk, right, and you want to become depressed. But no, in community, we don't deal with that. We don't deal with that over here. What we're now doing is calling you into a next place where you're supposed to be, because that's your frequency and your function for this particular season and time. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in community with all these high flying people.
But you know what? Until we and I see all of the comments, iron sharpens iron, which is another thing that we talk about. Until we are secure in who we are, we cannot accomplish it. It's impossible for us to do so. And I'm finding that this is why people do not lean in or tap into or allow the deep that is in you to call, because they don't value who you are. Because unless you're speaking like me, unless you quicken like me, unless you speak in tongues, unless you go to church, or all of these things that we do, unless you are a carbon copy of who they are and those experiences, people don't have a need for you, or so they think they don't have a need for you. And so it creates all of these issues in our communities, in our society as a whole, because we don't understand the importance and the significance of difference.
Correct. And Grace, and I've been there. Right? I love that piece, Wanda, about people want you to be a monolith, because we're not. Right. And so what I learned when our daughter was born, that we had this inkling that we weren't supposed to create a mini us or a mini me. And so, so we got to understand that, right? People want to create mini me's, and that's not it. Right. And so that's the emotional intelligence. When I understand, I don't have to create another me. I need to allow people to be who they are on their own journey. And so now emotional intelligent people understand how to help people. Number one, emotionally intelligent people understand how to honor people. They understand how to translate what that person is doing into what they need. And finally, emotionally intelligent people understand how to transform themselves based on what they're getting from other people.
They don't see it as a threat. It's not perceived as threatening.
As threat, and there is no competition. And that's competition, big piece, right? Is that we've been taught to be in competition with one another. But emotionally intelligent people understand that if there is competition, the only competition that I have is with myself.
Period.
And that is to be the best version of myself every day that I am blessed to wake up, right? To awaken and come into this space.
Absolutely. I love that part about emotional intelligence, because it allows us to hold space for others without losing ourselves. It becomes the holy language of the self.
Come on.
And so when we understand that holiness, and I'm not going to get into it. I want to, but we're not going to get into it tonight. I want to stay on topic. When we understand that all of these things, I tell people this all the time, It does not belong to the church. It does not belong to the Christian people whatsoever. These are universal principles. These are universal truths. And if we all lock in on the principle and the truth, then we all will live the abundant life. It has nothing to do with church. It has nothing to do with being a Christian. None of those things. It is the ability to recognize my wholeness is within myself.
Right.
I am holy. I am that I am.
Right. See, you going there.
Okay.
Right.
I'm a back out. Yes,
you might remember this, right? There's a season where I spelled wholeness, right? Where I spelled whole, right? WHOL-E-ness, right?
Yes.
Holiness, right?
Yes.
The idea of holiness is that we are whole. We are whole because of the integration, right? I love that word.
I love that. Yes.
Of the integration of what's on the inside of us already.
Yes.
Right. And so our wholeness, we are whole because we're literally whole. But we've been taught now, because if the body ain't functioning the way it's supposed to function, we think we're not whole anymore. No.
Correct.
Who you are, the essence of who you are, right? What many will call the Holy Ghost.
Yes.
But the essence, the energy of who you are is always whole. There is no brokenness there.
Absolutely.
Let me say it again. There is no so when we become emotionally intelligent and emotionally mature, we can go through things that hurt the outer shell, but we also understand that who I am can never be broken.
It can never be broken.
I wish somebody would say that. I can never be broken.
I can never be broken. I can never be broken. I'm so glad that you said that, because that was one of the things that I have struggled with. And we've talked about this over the last 4 years after Dante transitioned. And I fell into this state of brokenness, if you will. And in my mind, because that's what I had been conditioned to think and live accordingly, was if everything ain't aligned, if everything ain't in order, then you have no business speaking truth. You have no business empowering others. You have no business fulfilling purpose and all of these things. And so it literally put a muzzle on me. Right. And so I was very intentional about this year that regardless of what I'm walking through, I'm still whole. Regardless of how the avatar behaves, I am still whole, because the essence of me is holy.
Yeah.
Regardless of what I go through physically, I am still whole. So once I allowed my mind to bend and to form and accept that reality, then not only did I begin to execute, my body began to align with my mind. And now I'm walking in alignment regardless of what I feel like.
Absolutely. Right. Because in that space, Grace, is this idea that now I come into a greater of my greater destiny. I understand that there's something more about me. And I also, to Ronique's point, I also now begin to understand there are going to be times where we dip into the lower self.
Yes.
Cool, right? But we also, even in the midst of me flowing in my lower self or my lower level of function, guess what? I'm still whole.
I'm still whole.
So imagine if people understood that. Yeah, we're going to go through some things, right? Because that is now the idea that we are fully human and fully God, or fully divine.
Yes.
Right? Yes. So as I'm now fully human, I'm going to go through some things. And my humanity sometimes wants to dip into that lower self.
Right.
But now it's the engagement of humanity with my divinity. That pulls me back into my higher self.
Absolutely.
And so as Ronique said, it's all one. And we got to start seeing that. Ain't no such thing as the Christ consciousness and the devil. No, it's all one. It's Isaiah 45, that I am both the light and the dark. Right. It's the yin, the yang, and the yang.
Yes.
Right. And so it's now coming into congruence where they have to function. And so I'll say it this way. The only way to come into the full vibrational function of who we are is that we have to go through both sides of it.
We
We
have
have
to.
to experience light and dark. We have to
Absolutely.
experience the yin and the yang.
Absolutely.
So there is no such thing as having light all the time.
It's impossible to have
Impossible.
light all the time. It's absolutely impossible. We talk about, I'm not gonna go there. No, I'm not gonna go there. I will say this. I'm so glad that you said that, because we have been taught, it's the conditioning of the mind, that we have been taught that we're supposed to have only good days. Right. We're always supposed to be on the top. I'm above only. I'm never beneath. I'm always the head. I'm never all of those things that we have been taught over the years. And it caused us to live a life of imbalance. It caused us to not understand our humanity and our divinity. Right. And when we understand the power of duality of both realms, of both personalities, of both energies, I'm telling you, people, if you will understand that there is nothing wrong with the dark. In fact,
no.
Listen, I have embraced darkness more than I ever have in my life before. I talked about this on the last live, that we were born in darkness. We come out of the darkness.
Absolutely.
The dirt is in the planting, the darkness, the soil, all of that. Then the bud comes through, and then there's light. But there's nothing wrong with embracing the darkness.
Right.
In fact, you can't see a shadow without the light. You need both.
Right.
You need both.
And the darkness comes first.
It comes first.
You can't get light without darkness.
We only want the marvelous light. We don't want the dark.
Because that's what we've been taught, right? We've been
conditioned. Absolutely.
Or it's the enlightenment. So a new concepts I'm now exploring, even in my, as I look at my methodology for my dissertation. I'm now coming into a space where I'm looking at a concept called endarkenment versus enlightenment.
Wow.
Right. And so we have to understand that it is the dark. The thing about it is that we allowed people who wanted to colonize times, they took away that understanding, because believe me, they understand how powerful the dark is.
Yes.
Whether we talk about dark magic, right, or black magic, because in everything, right, you're going to get both sides in everything.
You're going to get both sides of it.
So yes, will some people use black magic or dark magic for things that are not, or for evil? Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
But that was never the intention of it, right?
Correct.
Because we understand the purity, right, and the sacredness of darkness, right, is what lends itself to power. And absolutely. So that's why we can go through things, and we can go into a space of meditation or prayer, or better yet, we can go into a prayer closet, if you will, symbolizing, right, you're going to be in a dark space, or you can go into a dark sepulcher, right, and now in a place where you should be dead, but now it's in that very place that you resurrect.
Resurrection.
So darkness is a place, right, of resurrection. It is a place of sacredness and a place of sanctification. I'm sanctified in the darkness.
In the dark.
So that now the light can begin to flow through me.
Absolutely. And you said something so profound that I absolutely love about, how the darkness brings us to the place of resurrection. When I think about, when we look at the story, and I don't, consider it in its literal interpretation, but when you think about Jesus being in the tomb, that's a dark place.
Absolutely.
And then we think about the things that happened in that space of time that was in a dark place. It wasn't until later on that the light, was illuminated in the world. But those experiences of darkness leads us through our evolution. Let me tell you something. We have walked through, in our evolution, we have walked through some dark times. We have walked through some lonely times. We have walked through, being confined within ourselves, and what the hell is going on, and what's happening, and all of these different questions. Absolutely. The tomb and the womb are one. You got to have the darkness. And if we could learn to embrace the reality of the darkness, you come into the light. Yes, absolutely. But periodically, we're always going to go back into either a tomb or a womb.
Right. Absolutely. And this is
We're
what I love.
always going back to a tomb or a womb.
Absolutely. And this is what I love about the study of Black studies, right? Where we get a lot of our writers that knew this stuff. They understood all of this. And so this idea of the tomb and the womb, right? So whether it's Maya Angelou or Toni Morrison, Octavia Butler, they write about from a very, what they call a speculative place.
Yes.
Right. It's this idea now that they understood the power of darkness. They understood, as we now talk about, that you cannot have an awakening without going through a dark night of the soul.
Dark night of the soul.
Right? Where you feel like, and I believe that is, they ain't going to call it that, but that's what Jesus experienced, right? That's what it's meant to teach us, right?
Exactly.
That in that sepulcher, in the darkness of the womb, or the tomb, now you go through a dark night of the soul, but now you also are, God, as you go through the dark night of the soul, it's also, the other thing I'll say about the sepulcher or the tomb is also a portal.
It is.
Right?
It is the portal.
And so you begin to now move through the portal.
Yes.
Right? And so for me, I go through these times when I'm just coming out of one, where now the ancestors begin to pull me through this portal, because and what happens as you travel through the portal, the other side of the portal is a new paradigm for you.
Absolutely.
And so now there's a different mindset. There's a shift in your mindset. There's a shift in your function, right? There's a shift in your worldview. This is how I don't understand how you can be in a place where you say that, week in and week out, I'm in this place, I'm getting this good word, I'm getting this and that, but yet you stay in the same place.
You stay in the same place.
That's diabolical. That is not education. That is not learning. You are not learning if you are getting all of this knowledge, but you're staying in the same place.
There is no embodiment of the word. There is no work towards dissecting the word, becoming one with the word. None of those things. We are completely separate. We hear and it's falling on deaf ears. It's falling on the ground. It's being devoured, by all of these outside forces and entities. There is no direct connection to, yes, stagnant, Wanda. I love that. We are not moving in alignment. But again, how does one, let's break this open here. How is it possible? How can we expect rather to receive truth and the truth make us free when we are completely misaligned to the truth?
Right.
We'd rather the lie.
Absolutely.
We'd rather the deception. We'd rather all of these other entities and aspects of what we're receiving, because there is no responsibility nor accountability for it.
Correct.
So I don't have to grow. I'll show up. I'll hear. I'll yell. I'll scream. I'll dance. I'll shout. I'll speak in tongues. I'll say yes. I'll agree. I'll interact in the comments. I'll do all of these things. But when it comes to the inward work or the darkness, which is where the work takes place, we don't live in those moments. How can we move ourselves from that place to a place where we openly receive so that we can get in alignment and then begin to embody alignment? Talk to me. What are your thoughts?
Man, it for a lot of people, it's hard. Well, for everybody, it's hard.
It's hard.
Right? It's hard work. And I think that's the illusion, because so many people have bought into the idea that it's an easy journey, right? And so a lot of times what we've been called to do, that's the easy part. But now getting into a space of darkness and really doing your own internal work, that's the hard place. The hard place is to say, you know what, I'm gonna invest in myself. And I'm now going to contact Coach Grace And whatever she charges me, I'm gonna be willing to pay it, because now that's the hard work. Because now I know someone is gonna be able to help me. But no, instead of doing that, we gonna say, well, I can do it on my own, right? I don't need nobody to help me do whatever it is that I know I need to do, right? And that's because they now look at it. And so, man, the thing that gets me is that oftentimes people will hear this kind of conversation. People close to you will know you. They will know what you're about, and still will not be willing, right, to even come. And I ain't trying to make no shameless business plug, but I am that there are times where, again, emotionally intelligent people will say to themselves that if I identify a person who's in a place where I desire to be, then I'm going to latch on to that, and I'm now going to ask them to help me get there.
Absolutely.
Right. And nothing in this world is free. Right. And so try that. Try going to a millionaire and say, you know what? I have a goal to be a millionaire, or I believe my destiny is to be a millionaire. Would you be a mentor to me? Absolutely. But guess what? It ain't going to be free.
It's going to cost you.
It's going to cost you something. And that's the hard part. Nobody wants to pay for anything, right? And I ain't talking about money here. I'm talking about sacrifice.
Absolutely.
Sacrifice. I was just thinking this morning about, for me, I was thinking about sacrifice, right? I came up with this idea. For me, sacrifice means both the sacred, right, and the efficiency. So when I begin to sacrifice, I come into a place of sacredness, right, wherein now I'm allowed to be efficient in my functionality. Right. And so you're going to have to sacrifice something, because that's the only way I'll transition us that we actually come into freedom.
You took the words out of my mouth, but go ahead. Yeah. I was, yes. Because until we make the sacrifice, until we are efficient in our functioning, we still remain caged. Absolutely. We still remain bound. We are still not free. And I know time is here, and we're going to spend just a few minutes. If y'all can just hang out with us just a few more minutes. This is so good. But I want to talk about freedom. By definition, with everything that we've talked about tonight, what is the freedom that we're looking for?
So for me, and I would tell people, for me, I believe that there's a difference between freedom and liberation, right?
Yes,
so
sir.
For me, I'm looking to be liberated. That's self-liberation. But as we talk about freedom, we're also talking about being in a space, again, of congruence. We're in a space of emotional intelligence that leads us to a place of freedom. And so freedom looks like being unbothered, right? It looks like being not being in fear of anything, right? And so when we come into fear, we're not bothered by any external validation. We no longer are looking to outsource, right, our peace and our purpose and our happiness, right? But we now find that inner freedom. And so our inner freedom leads us to our outer liberation.
Yes.
My inner freedom, right, helps me to understand that I am unstoppable. It was that inner freedom, I believe, that led some of the ancestors to rise up, right, and revolt, right, and to fight, to get their liberation. And so there are times where you're going to have to come into that space of freedom, because freedom now teaches you how to fight. When you are no longer fearful of what the outside world can do to you, now that's when you're ready to walk in true liberation. And so what we're talking about tonight in terms of this idea of freedom, it's a space that leads you into liberty and liberation, right? Absolutely. But it's also that place where you are no longer fearful about anything that anybody can do. And so I believe the scriptures will say it like this: we're no longer fearful of what can happen to the body, because we understand now that what's in the body is what matters most.
Yes.
And so
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so, I'll say this piece. And so it's that piece for me. You asked me to talk about this idea of the ancestors and why I'm talking about the ancestors
Yes.
so much lately. It's because it's the freedom. It's the freedom to now understand, right, that the ancestors are still here. I just posted some things this morning to understand, right? When we say ancestor, we're not talking about every single person that makes transition.
Right.
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 We're talking about those that you are a direct descendant of. Right.
Yes.
And so you're direct descendant. So we both have direct descendant ancestors, but I also believe we have cultural ancestors. For me,
Yes.
cultural ancestors are those that you that you feel a connection to. And so for me, when I think about Malcolm and Martin, or Malcolm X and Martin, for me, those are my cultural ancestors
Okay.
because I am drawn to them. You look on my
Yes.
bookshelf, you will find
Yes, you are. Yes,
every
you
book,
are.
right, about Malcolm, every book about Martin. And so in that place now, I've also begun to talk about and challenge people with this, is that we need to start building what is called ancestral wisdom councils.
I love
And
that.
so that council is made up of those ancestors that you have been in communication with and that you have invited to sit on your council. And
Yes.
now, watch this. In addition, right? Because I ain't trying to mess up nobody's religion and all that.
Right, right,
In addition to you praying to the Most High, the Creator, God, whatever you choose to call it, you
right.
also now begin to be in communion, constant communion with your
With the
ancestral council. Why?
absolutely.
Because your ancestral council now is able to guide you and lead you through right to your place of purpose and destiny. And
Yes.
so when we talk about free, it's the freedom to understand that they ain't just on the other side, they still right here present. So that whole
Exactly.
idea of right, the great cloud of witnesses, they
Yes,
are
sir.
there cheering you on.
Yes.
They are literally right. When we begin to understand right about spirit, they are literally in this place right now. So I don't call them angels, I call them ancestors.
Me too.
And so as the ancestors are surrounding, they empower you, right?
Absolutely.
They give you that power, they give you that knowledge that you need, right? And so this idea that when I begin to come into divine knowledge and divine knowing, it means I know things that I know I haven't studied, but that's because it's coming through the power of the ancestors. Why?
Absolutely.
Because the ancestors are in your DNA.
They
The
are.
ancestors are living in every cell that make you up. And so
Absolutely.
we got to start understanding that this stuff is the stuff of our ancestors that was taken away from us and demonized, but now we come because we're in cyclical. We believe in kairos or
Yes.
cyclical or circular time.
Yes.
Our time is now to come back into those practices of our people because it has come full circle. This is
Absolutely.
why you're seeing movies like and things come out like Sinners. You're seeing people tap more into hoodoo and voodoo. You're seeing people understand that it's not demonic, right? These were literal practices. If you really understand hoodoo, you understand that hoodoo was a mixture of African spirituality and Christianity, all
Correct.
made up together, right?
And they don't like it. They don't like to hear that. Say it again. Say it slow and say
Yeah,
it again.
it says hoodoo. Hoodoo is a mixture of African spirituality and Christianity,
Yes.
right? And we come into this place of understanding. Watch this. And even more than that, it's a place of ritual.
It is.
Yeah, right? So
There's
even when
that
we
word
talk
again.
about Christianity is religion. And so there's a brother that I absolutely love called Dr. Daniel Black. He says the thing that he loves about Christianity, even though Christian people don't understand it, the thing he loves about Christianity is that because we're doing the work and the spirituality, we're doing African spirituality, even in Christianity,
Right.
because of the ritual. So
Right.
African people, Black people are ritual people.
Absolutely. By
If
nature.
you look at your life, 9 times out of 10, your life, there's something about your life that is ritualistic.
Absolutely.
right? How you get up in the morning, right? You have a ritual in the morning. Right?
Absolutely.
How you get prepared to go to bed at night. You have a ritual at
It's a
night.
ritual. Mm-hmm.
And so we have to now take that same concept and understanding and now apply it to the holistic premises of our life. That now we are a ritual people. And so as we come together, what's going to be our ritual? As now I begin to move further into my purpose, what's my ritual that's going to get me there? And I yield. Let's go ahead.
Listen, let's just take a Selah moment. Let's just take a moment to breathe. You know, I like to do breath work when I do spirit work. This is spirit work. And so everybody just take a deep breath. Hold for 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. I'm not sure what that is in the background.
My background?
Is that your background?
Yes, I guess.
Okay. It faded out.
Okay.
It faded out. Listen.
Come on.
Who is that? I hear somebody talking in the background.
Nobody physically talking.
But do you hear it?
I heard you.
Because there's no one else that has access that is on here with us whatsoever. So we have definitely tapped in because I could hear the vibrational sounds and then I started to hear voices. And so that's just the spirit's way of letting us know that we have tapped in, that we are honored, that we are being honored. So I am grateful for this moment right here, right now. So I want you to just lean into this moment right here. And we will just allow the spirit to speak. We will just allow the breath to just fill us and allow the ancestral realm to speak to us, because as you stated, they are ever present. Mm-hmm. I acknowledge my counsel, like you said, on a daily basis. I talk, there are different ones now, you know, based on what you said. I love how you talked about the cultural counsel as well as the personal. And so I'm really going to lean into that cultural aspect more, but I've really been on that personal counsel here as of late. And I tell people all the time, do not allow other people who do not embody emotional intelligence to have you demonize these spiritual experiences. Don't allow that, because this is spirit. This is spirit at work. And when just because somebody doesn't understand it doesn't make it truth, doesn't make it demonic or any of those things. And I know we've been taught all of these things to shun, to push away. But if you can symbolically consume somebody's body and blood,
ritual,
then I think certainly we can embody these types of truths and spiritual practices and rituals. I talked about this on my last live. We do not like that word ritual. We're afraid of that word ritual. And we have been conditioned to believe that it's demonic, it's ugly, it's dark, it's evil, and all of these things. But I want to invite you to the light of these experiences and the dark of these experiences, because they shape the reality of who we are. It's encoded in our DNA. And I'm going to allow the spirit to speak from all points of view. I talked about this before, and we're closing. My son, and I have pastor friends and different things like that who have called me and who have said, I don't get down with that, talking to the dead and all of those types of things. And I said, well, if that is your perspective that they are dead, it is not mine, because energy never dies, spirit never dies. I said, so I embrace the reality of my son, who is not physically in this plane, but he has returned to source and is absolute now. And he is fully spirit now. So why would I not lean into that experience and lean into that counsel and call upon him in certain moments? Because, yeah, he knows.
Yeah.
He knows. And so I live and lean into those experiences. But again, all of this comes back full circle to being aligned, to embodying emotional intelligence. Only then can you live at this level of freedom. And then, like we talked about, we want only not to have a level of freedom, we want to also have liberty.
Right. Because Grace, freedom, man, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Because, woo, I feel something.
Right. Freedom gives us the ability to live in our imagination.
Yes, I like that.
And so when you to live in your imagination, now you can understand that it's all mythology, right?
It definitely is.
Into this place now where whatever it is you believe, you're free to believe that, because that is what you need to make it through. And so the freedom, where there's liberty, there is truth. Absolutely. Right. And so, this idea of freedom now is also this idea of living in imagination. And so, again, I will say, for me, that's what I've learned so much through this journey of learning more about what having this ancestral practice really means. And I said to somebody just the other day, I said, well, if you believe that Jesus died and rose again, then how come you can't believe that people whoever has died and rose again? If in fact, to be the soul separates from the body, right? To be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord and all that stuff, right? And so we got to start understanding, right? In freedom, I can believe that. But in fear, I'm bound to what somebody else done told me to believe.
Absolutely.
Right? In freedom, I can absolutely believe, right, what I want to believe. But when I am fearful, I'm bound to what everybody else tells me to believe.
Absolutely. And that is part of why we're having this conversation tonight, because we realized the significance of being free from the perceptions of people, from the acceptance of other people. I don't need you to agree with what I know at all. I don't need agreements, right? As long as I am congruent to the truth, I do not need you to amen me. I don't need you to slap me on my back and say, you are right, I agree. And I actually, it perturbs me when people do that, as if it's their sense of validation of what you're saying. I don't need your validation. I don't require it whatsoever. It's cool when we share the same ideologies. It's cool and respectful when we are on the same wavelength of expression and all of that. But I in no way require any person on the planet to be able to say, oh, yes, Grace is right, I agree with her. And I don't require any of that. And the moment that we unshackle ourselves from those limitations and people's perceptions and mindsets and acceptance of us. Listen, when we get free from people, that's another level of freedom that most of you need to experience, is getting free from ninjas.
That's
because
it.
we on live. We have to learn to be free from all of these things that have bound us. We live in so much fear.
Yeah.
That is absolutely ridiculous. The amount of fear that we live in because we want to be accepted. We want people to validate us. We want people to like us and all of these things. And if me living my truth is an issue for you, then you are not part of my tribe. You're not my people, because my people says, whoever you are, whatever you do, as long as you do it with honor and grace and, you know, truth and all of these different things, then I can rock with that.
Right.
And that's all I'm looking for, is people who want to rock with me, regardless.
Regardless.
Well, I'm not out here killing people. I'm not out here robbing people, harming people, hurting people. I truly believe in do no harm.
Right.
With every fiber of my being. Right. I was telling Wanda this, and a couple of other people that I had a conversation with. I have no issue, and I don't believe in doing harm. But let's be clear. If you come for me, right, all bets are off.
Absolutely.
All bets are off.
That's the duality.
That's the duality.
Right. But we're taught.
Yes, Brandon.
Right. We're taught to walk this thing out. Like, and I'm gonna be fully transparent here.
Go.
I pray for my enemies now.
Yeah.
But the prayer that I pray, people won't like.
Okay. You say, okay. You
right.
okay.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Right?
So you know exactly what, yes, you ain't gonna like it.
As I pray, yes, I pray for my enemies.
Yes,
I do. I no longer pray for God to help me to turn the other cheek. I no longer pray for God to help me to keep my mouth from saying this or that.
Right.
So I'll invoke Dr. Daniels here. One of the things that I love that he taught me about was to get out of word bondage. Stop being in word bondage.
Yes, absolutely.
And so I'm now in a place where you come for me, I will pray to the ancestors that they will come and strike you. I will, because I believe now that revenge is mine. I don't wait on the Lord for revenge anymore. I'm gonna do no harm. And so I'm not saying I'm gonna go out here and physically attack anybody.
Right.
But I now understand what it is to be in spiritual warfare.
Absolutely. Period.
And so my spiritual warfare today looks drastically different than what it looked like when I was in the church.
Very. Absolutely. Absolutely. But I'm telling you, you said exactly, that was the nicest way to say it. And I was fishing for the proper way to say it, because I'm telling you, you could mess around and find out if you want to.
Absolutely.
You can. I am all for love. I'm a loving being. And all of those, yeah, right. FAFO. You can FAFO. That's it, Wanda. You know, I'll use the acronym in a heartbeat. I will FAFO you in a minute. I'm all for love and getting along and all of these things, but absolutely. There is an evolution to my spiritual authority and dominion that I had not realized being in church.
Right.
And so I don't wait for God to show up. Leave me the hell alone. Yes, sir. It's in your best interest.
Yeah.
If you're not gonna rock with me, it's to just leave me the hell alone. That it's in your best interest. But I'm with you guys. I am all for getting along and doing all of those things. But when I feel when it comes to harm, I'm not intimidated by threats, right? But when it comes to harm, then I'm going to allow, where the Bible says vengeance is the Lord's, where the Lord dwells within, and I'm an expression of the Lord, then I'm going to handle it as the Lord wills.
Right. Absolutely.
And that's my freedom. That's my liberty to do so. But listen, woo, we can go on and on and on. You know, you and I can sit for hours and hours and talk. I do want to hit just a few comments. I know there have been so many. I don't want to go back up too far because we changed direction here. We talked about the darkness. Yes. We talked about all of that. I don't want to miss anybody. I want to give gratitude for my friend being on, Chris Moore. Thank you for joining. I'll talk about your tardiness later. Let's see.
Right.
I like that, Brandon. He was talking about. I want to talk about some of that part where you were talking about investing in yourself and all of that, and that it's going to cost us. Wanda says you got to pay to play. Brandon says, what are we willing to invest? That's absolutely a perfect question, profound question, I should say. Ronique says, according to the narrative, Mary poured on the head and feet of Yeshua for his burial. Most don't want the vial of oil to burn the elementary principles and old foundations. Knowledge brings you into the death of ignorance. Woo! That is so absolutely powerful.
Right.
Yes. Chris Moore says you must sacrifice something. When you're talking about sacrificing, he's really big principle on sacrifice and putting in work. So thank you for that comment. Ronique says, and we're gonna have to talk about that the next time, Bynes, liberation versus freedom. Definitely want to get into that. And then divine nature ancestry. What an amazing topic, portion of the topic that we talked about tonight with our ancestry. I definitely want to dive deeply into that again. It's in our DNA. Psalms, the book of Psalms. Let me pause here. The book of Psalms,
ritual,
highly structured and rooted in hoodoo, in magic, right? In spells, all of these types of things. So if we're going to embrace it, let's embrace it for what it is. But again, when you have emotional intelligence and you're spiritually mature and you're spiritually sound, we do not use these tools to harm. We don't use them to create more issues in the earth. We use them as a resolve in the earth. Okay. Chris says, "Oh Lord," when we started talking about he's a Christian pastor. So he probably started clutching his Christian pearls as we started talking about the hoodoo and the magic and spells and all of these types of things. Right. Tony says she heard it. Oh, okay, Tony, you did hear it too. I think I don't know. Listen, I think all of our antennas, we were open to the frequency of the ancestral dimension. Right. So I'm not surprised that we all heard what we heard. I'm just grateful that we heard, right? Where there is liberty, there is truth. Absolutely. And then, Salathia Oates, I'm so honored to have you on tonight. This is an elder from a community that I used to pastor in Georgia. And I'm so honored to have him on. Yes, freedom from people. And, Salathia, we've talked about that many years ago about needing freedom from people. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, not people, Brandon says, there is liberty. Absolutely. And did I get all of them? I think so. Okay, Ronique says, don't get me nervous. My trigger finger gets itchy. Absolutely. Listen, I'm with you right there. I'm good unless you mess with me. Otherwise, we don't have no problems. It's all love, light, and peace and power over here. So I'm going to open up the floor. Wanda, did you want to come on and say anything?
I'm actually listening, but I really do appreciate everything from Bynes as well as you, Grace, tonight in the comments, especially Ronique. He always has something very profound to say. I just want to kind of just touch on the word congruence. If we look at it from since we come up in church and church setting, we can't seem to escape that no matter how hard we try to, because it is So I think somebody said it was in our somebody said the word DNA. I think that was Chris. He said it's DNA. So that's probably rooted also in our DNA. So I'm just going to piggyback off a scripture in the Bible or a concept from the Bible with the word congruence, because when we look at it in a symbolic meaning, at its core, congruence is about alignment and harmony. Symbolically, it represents things that match up perfectly, whether that's ideas, values, actions, or forms. And it made me think of um, as what's the phrase,
As
as
above, so
above, so below, as within, so without. So when everything is aligned intuitively or internally, I should say, then that it comes out externally if we in line internally. So that matches the congruence and the harmony of all sides being meshed and put together when everything is lined up. And I really appreciate everything that was said tonight because it brought some things back to my memory. I think Ronique said something earlier about remember, do it again. So we have to remember to do things again and again and again. So it can become muscle memory, and it becomes, I won't say second nature, but it becomes first nature, to where we understand that this is the first thing that we gravitate towards to before we, instead of reacting or responding to something, we automatically just go with what we normally or should be going with. So I just want to say, I appreciate everything that was said tonight, because it helped me to rethink and realign some things in my own life. So I appreciate everybody tonight.
thank you so much for
Awesome.
that. Absolutely. Well
Awesome.
said. Dr. Bynes,
Listen,
any final thoughts?
it's been, as a friend of mine would say, it's been a plum pleasing pleasure
Yes, yes.
to be on tonight. And just picking up, that word congruence is another word for oneness. So,
Yes,
even in the scriptures, as he talks about, make them one as we are one,
as we
right?
are
This
one.
whole idea is that we eventually move from this idea of duality into that space of oneness.
Right.
And so it's been awesome, and I just hope folks will take away that equation, right? Alignment plus emotional intelligence equals freedom, right? And it's that travel through that portal of freedom that you eventually get to full-fledged liberation.
Absolutely.
But you got to fight for it, right? You got to fight for it. And so I'm hoping that something that we talked about tonight is going to continue to resonate with folks. And to Wanda's point, it's not so much the idea of church that we can't get away from, but we can't get away from spirituality because it's
That's what it is. Yes.
right. And again, I would say even in church is just a venue or a vehicle, right, where we do spirituality or we do ritual, even though they hate the word, but it's where we do ritual, right? And so that's the piece that we'll never be able to get away from because it's who we are. It's coded in our DNA.
Well said. Thank you so much. I want to close with just a few things on the personal, spiritual, communal, and ancestral freedom. And I promise, enjoyed you all so very much. Thank you, everyone, for being on the live. Give me 5 minutes and max, and I promise that we're going to be done. I just want a couple of notes that I had written down because I knew Bynes was really going to pour into, not yet, Wanda. Oh, okay. I knew he was really going to pour into that freedom piece. And he's a scholar. So I was like, let me get my little notes together so I could pop my collar too, because bro be bringing it, So personal freedom. I am no longer at war with myself. And this just summarizes everything that you just said in a nutshell. Spirituality invites you inward to listen, to surrender, to remember. Right. Emotional intelligence gives you the tools to sit with what you find within, right? Right. And then spiritual freedom, I can define divinity for myself. Yeah. So when you're emotionally aware, you don't bypass your humanity to be spiritual. You bring your full self to the altar, tears, anger, questions, and all. And when you're spiritually aligned, you stop outsourcing your power to doctrine for approval. Right? You lean within. You allow your voice to be the form of worship. And that's why I am off mute and completely, whether my voice shakes, whether I fumble my words, whether I stutter, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. I will use my voice in this season of my life. Nice. And then when it comes to communal freedom, I no longer see connection as a threat. Because spirituality teaches us that we are one. And emotional intelligence, it helps us to actually live like we're one, without codependence, without fear, without self-erasure, right? And then finally, ancestral freedom. I am the answered prayer and the breaking point. Spirituality roots you in the unseen. Emotional intelligence helps you process the seen, whether it's trauma, silence, generational grief that you've inherited, and the like. Miles Monroe said something very, very powerful on a clip that I saw a few weeks ago. He talked about men in particular, and our men carry trauma and pain and different things. And he talked about how in the loins, in the seed of the man, generationally, he expenses that trauma, that DNA, all of that goes within the seed of the man. So it's so important, men. That's why I wanted to have my brother on tonight. That's why I lean on my brothers. I look to them. I encourage them. I love them. Because our men go through things unimaginable in many instances. And the way that they deal with trauma and pain, the world has told them not to. My niece posted something a couple of days ago. She said, never tell my son boys are not supposed to cry.
Right.
Right. And so when we understand how ancestral freedom also relates generationally, my prayer for you, if you will, is that you will begin to heal those things, that generational grief that you've inherited, that trauma that you've inherited, but not only those things, because we love to talk about the negative things, but there's also a power that you've inherited.
Right.
Right? There's also a grace that you've inherited. There's also intelligence that you've inherited. So we gotta understand both sides of this thing and really lean into it. So together, all of this births this truth. We are not the wound, but we are the wisdom that is born from it. So I invite you to free yourself. And in doing so, you help others to become free. Thank you, all of you, those that have watched live, that have stayed with us through this time, those that will watch the replay. I am grateful for your presence. Thank you to the ancestral realm. I feel the presence of that realm tonight as well. And we are so very grateful for each of you. Until the next time, be lofty and live on purpose. I love you all. Good night.
Take us out.
Take us out. Wanda, go ahead. Take us out.